The sound you hear is what some experts claim to be a Bigfoot scream. Recorded in the state of Washington by a group of campers in 1971, it is regarded as the highest quality audio of the creature ever captured.
Hello, welcome to Bigfoot Real Encounters. We're glad to have you stop by. We'd also like to take this time to invite you to share your encounter. You can send your stories to the email bfrealencounters@mail.com, where we will feature your story with all of the respect that it deserves. So send your stories in, bfrealencounters@mail.com. We look forward to hearing from you and your great stories soon. Hello everybody. Well, you found us. Bigfoot, Real Encounters. This is your host, Chris. I want to welcome all of our returning viewers as well as all of our brand new viewers. This is a safe place to tell what happened to you in the forest, or on your way home, walking along a wooded patch, or maybe driving down the road at night and something waited until you drove by to rush across the road in front of you. Something tall, something hairy, something scary. We know they exist and we will believe you. You can tell what happened. We're not going to ridicule you. We're not going to make fun of you. We're going to believe you. And whatever strange occurrences happened around your encounter, whether you saw the creature or just experienced ambient happenings, i.e. stick throwing, rock throwing, the crackling sound of branches breaking or trees being pushed over and uprooted, and so on and so forth. That feeling that you are being watched, all the hairs on your body standing on end, and a feeling of fright coming over you. No, you're not crazy. It's happened to thousands of people over many years, many decades. And people are now coming forward with their story because it's time. We have a place, a safe place to get these incidences reported to and the stories told with all of the details. Perhaps the folks that were supposed to have your back, those closest to you, family members, best friends, did not believe you. They put you off. Maybe they even laughed at you or ridiculed you. Well, this is a safe place that you can tell what happened to you and share it along, as well as view and listen to other stories, because it happened to many other people. You are not alone. These beings, the Sabe, the Sasquatch, the Boogers, the Bigfoot, whatever you'd like to call them, they watch us. Sometimes they play. They also seem to like to scare us. They think it's funny. But in any case, many people have come across them. Hunters have seen them. Hunters have been scared by them. There have been many varieties of encounters with them, from innocuous sightings of one just walking along to actually having one at the bottom of their tree stand reaching up for them and growling and chasing them out. There's all kinds of stories and encounters that have happened. Many people have not gone back into the forest because of it. We have had some folks tell us that by relating what happened to them and telling their story, that they have begun to heal because they got it off of their chest. This is a common thing with PTSD. It is a start. You can start to heal. I offer this channel as a format for you to do so. Sit down, type out what happened to you, email it into me at bfrealencounters@mail.com. I'll read it word for word, other than the cuss words, and you can get it off your chest, as well as providing additional information to others that need to hear that it happened to somebody else also, as well as more information and education to pass on to other people as well as our children, so that we know what to do when we come across these creatures, so that we are not totally caught off guard when we encounter them. Now, I know I say many of these things at the beginning of my videos all the time. Some folks say, stop talking and just read the stories. Nope! The whole point of having this channel is to get this type of information out, is to encourage those who have had encounters, is to provide a format so that all these things can be accomplished to help folks. Okay, got it? Good. Enough of my rant. Anyways, we're going to continue on state by state. Looks like we're headed to Nevada. Now, Nevada doesn't have a whole lot of reported encounters, but we are going to take a look at a few right here. Our first encounter here is from Douglas County, Nevada, back in 1984, in the month of September. And this one reads, in September 1984, my friend and I were hiking on the east side of the Sierra Nevada mountain range, above Lake Tahoe and the Carson Valley, above the town Genoa. Both of us grew up in this area. Although in high school I was kind of a cut-up, my friend Linda graduated valedictorian of our class 5 years earlier. She's very logical. We have often hiked this trail that basically goes straight up the mountain and over to Tahoe. It is a strenuous hike. When we parked our truck at the trailhead, there was another car parked there as well. We were a quarter the way up the trail when two teenage boys came running down the mountain toward us. The trail was extremely steep and they were running for all they were worth. They stopped long enough to implore us not to go any further up the mountain, as they had seen a monster or something. There was an old deer hunter's cabin at about the halfway point, and we told the boys that we were only going that far. We thought they were drinking or on drugs. We shrugged off the incident, laughed, and joked that we wished we had what they were smoking. We reached the cabin without incident, sat down on the bluff that overlooked the Carson Valley. We split a soda that we had brought, and I took out my recorder, it's a flute-like instrument, and began playing some little tune on it. We were alone on the mountain, we thought. After about an hour of putzing around, we decided to head back down the trail. I kept smelling dog dew or something dead. I even checked my shoes. We were near the creek gathering pine cones for an art project. I was facing downhill, Linda was facing uphill. We were examining a particularly perfect cone when Linda looked up and exclaimed, "Oh my God, it's a bear." "No, it's a guy in a bear suit." I looked up and couldn't believe it. We were a stone toss from a 7-foot hairy dude. He looked directly at us, and to this day, Linda and I felt something pass between the three of us. He stood across the creek from us. His hair was the color of dry pine needles and covered his whole body, with the hair thinning just on his chest and face. He had a large, broad chest, but not breasts like a female. His arms were hanging at his sides nearly to his knees, and when he walked, he took long strides and his arms swung freely as he walked. He didn't seem to fear us, although he began to walk straight up a pine needle-covered slope, barefooted without slipping. As he moved away, Linda grabbed my arm and began dragging me down the hill. I couldn't take my eyes off him, and he never took his eyes off us. I do not feel to this day as he meant to harm us, but instead I feel he was just as fascinated with us as we were with him. His face seemed almost serene, with very intelligent eyes. His face resembled an orangutan. He had large eyes and a flattish nose. I sketched a picture as soon as I got home, and Linda confirmed that I had captured his likeness. I wished I had a camera on me that day. As we continued at a fast pace down the hill, he remained on the ridge above us, paralleling in the same direction. We reached our truck and could still see him crouching on the granite boulder, at least a football field distance between us. I yelled up to him that he was very cool, but he shouldn't be scaring the crap out of us locals. He stood up on the boulder, and Linda told me to shut up and get back in the truck. We were strangely disturbed that afternoon and evening. We thought of going to the Forest Service or the Sheriff's Department. But, criminy sakes, who would have believed us? Plus, in our community, they would just want to shoot him. We have since hiked there many times, always hoping to catch another glimpse. We're married ladies with kids, and we take our kids up, quote, Bigfoot Canyon, end quote, periodically in search of our elusive friend. A few years ago, the wind blew down some trees during a storm and exposed an area that we had not seen from the trail before. When we went up to investigate, we found a large boulder and some older pine trees with branches low to the ground around it. You could duck down and go under the trees near the wall of the boulder, and it looks as if something or someone had made a natural shelter there. The pine needles had all been tramped down, and it seemed to be away from the prevailing winds. A great place for deer, bear, or perhaps a Bigfoot. We hope so. I will never look at life on this earth the same way. I've seen Bigfoot, and not only does it make for a great tale around the campfires at night, it fuels my imagination about every little sound I hear when I'm in the wilderness. I'm intrigued. I only hope that no harm comes to the Bigfoot. I believe that the great creator of all life shares the sight of the Bigfoot with people who might grow from the experience. I know Linda and I have both grown. Even if we share the experience with someone who doesn't believe us, it really does not matter. We know what we saw. He was so close in proximity, it was obvious to us that this fella belonged here. He was as natural as the sky, creek, trees, and the deer. Now there's a very different type of encounter. This thing was just looking at him, and let me see here. Yes, it does say that her and her friend both felt something pass between the three of them, it says. So there's the person writing this encounter, her friend Linda, and the Bigfoot, and something passed between them. They felt it. That's very intriguing. It really is. Because there's much speculation about the Sasquatch being able to cloak themselves. And here's something that passed between the three of them. It just makes me wonder, was it another one? Was it a young one? Very interesting. It was not a scary type of a situation, although they were a little bit of afraid and they got out of there. The two young boys coming down the trail were running for all they were worth. They said, "Don't go up there, we saw a monster." And but they went on up anyways because they didn't believe him. Here we go with the unbelief when you tell what happened to you again. And then they saw it. Kind of poetic justice. I thought it was interesting, though, that the lady shouted up and said, "Hey, you're cool, but you shouldn't be scaring the crap out of us locals." That was kind of funny, I thought. Telling Bigfoot, "Hey, you shouldn't be scaring the crap out of us locals." That's really funny. But I'm glad that these people did continue on and going back into the forest and actually kind of looked for him. And they're taking their children in there also, so I'm assuming that they have told their children about the Bigfoot and let them know that they exist. The tone of the story sounds like they might have. And let me just add, if this is your story that you place on the BFRO website, and you've found my channel and listening to me talk about it, I would love to hear from you. Perhaps you have some other stories by now, or additional information to add to this. You can reach me at bfrealencounters@mail.com. Would love to hear from you. Also, I'd like to take this time to encourage you to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below. Encourage others who you may know who have had encounters to share that encounter. We don't have to say their name. We could keep everything anonymous, or we could just call you Bob, however you want it. Actually, you could even make a short video yourself on your phone or whatever and email that to me, and I'll put that on as part of the encounter that I produce on here. We did it with Dale P, and it worked out real nice for him. And he's got his own channel that he's starting to upload videos on. I'll put a link up here in the upper right hand corner for you to follow to visit Dale P from Tennessee. He puts up a lot of different videos now of places that he goes, some nature videos and places where he walks, and he's getting back into the forest now. Go check out Dale's channel, subscribe to his. Alright, let's continue on. Going to Story County, Nevada, back in the summer of 1980. This one here reads, I was a reserve deputy sheriff for Story County Sheriff's Office. I was employed by Houston International Minerals Corporation at Gold Hill as their on-site security supervisor. I had worked the day shift. I had run some kids out of the old mill at around 3 p.m. on 9/15/80. I was showing my swing shift officer the area I had ran the kids off from. We were in the security vehicle parked on the high side of the south side of the old mill, gold mining. We saw that the boys, 4 of them, were running back down the ravine to the creek below. It was about 4:15 p.m. As the boys reached the creek, they must have scared a group of girls at the creek bottom because they started screaming. There was a lot of noise being made by both the girls and the boys, laughing and yelling. At first I thought they had scared a deer west of them near the rock outcrops. Then I thought, no, it's too big to be a deer. I could see him moving among the trees heading up the other side of the ravine at a very fast pace. I thought it must be a lone Mustang as I watched. My security officer got the binoculars from the seat and said, "Oh my God!" I looked closer and realized it was not a Mustang. I was looking at a large, graying, brown, man-shaped thing about 10 plus feet tall. It was obviously male because of its build. As it cleared the trees near the top of the hill, I could clearly see it. It was covered with hair from head to toe. Graying like a person in their 50s, it was at least 3 feet across at the shoulders. At the crest of the hill, it turned to look back down the ravine. It was maybe 100 yards across the ravine. I had an unobstructed view at this point. It stood on the hilltop maybe a minute looking back down the hill, then turned and moved over the other side of the hill out of view. We drove over to where we had seen the thing last, about a 2-mile drive on dirt roads. It was about 4:50 p.m. by then. We saw no further sign of it, but was able to establish that the thing was standing next to a tree that was 11 feet tall, and it was just as tall as the tree we saw. Oh my goodness. They saw a huge one. And do keep in mind, this is from deputy sheriff at the time. So this is maybe a little more credible in the minds of most people. I think all of you all who send in stories are credible. But just for the sake of the naysayers, Here's a person who was a deputy sheriff who made this report. It doesn't say anything about the kids, the young people, if they had seen it or noticed it. But that's a big one. 10, 11 feet tall. My goodness. I'd be shouting, "Oh my God," also as I looked out to see something like that. And yes, this is the state of Nevada. A lot of brown desert type of thing, and still the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, Sabe, they're still being seen out in areas like that. These creatures are everywhere, folks. All right, let's take one more here. We're going to go to Humboldt County, Nevada, back in the winter of 2005, the month of February. And this one here reads, "My uncle, my 6-year-old cousin, and I were on one of our little weekly expeditions to explore the surrounding mountains in Winnemucca, Nevada. We were walking up the foot of a mountain on the ridge of a wash, and there was still about 1.5 feet of snow on the ground, when my cousin said that she saw a guy standing on the top of the mountain. And I said, 'There's no one up there. It's too far from any civilization. It's probably just a juniper bush.' But about 5 minutes later, our 95-pound Doberman Greyhound mix made a mad dash underneath the truck by the foot of the mountain. And our dog was not one to be scared off easily. It scares away anything that comes close to the house, and it even took on a mountain lion once. It has the scars on its underbelly to prove it. Just about the time me and my uncle looked up towards where my cousin was pointing, we heard a low, droning howl, and what I thought was the juniper bush was animated now, walking downwards and swaying side to side slightly. It spooked me and my uncle because on the way up we saw a totally decimated cow carcass. About that time we headed out to the truck because we were pretty shaken up by what we had just seen. We were reluctant to tell anyone in the fear of being laughed at and ridiculed. Well, folks, there you are again. Being laughed at and ridiculed for telling something that really happened to you is so common, it is so prevalent in our society. This shouldn't happen. Why do we treat each other like this? It's time to stop, folks. When somebody comes and tells you something that happened to them, and you can tell that they're being serious, don't laugh at them and ridicule them and talk about it behind their back. That's not right. Remember the first encounter we just heard? These young ladies were laughing to themselves, between themselves, about those young men running down the trail saying they saw a monster, and then guess what? They ran into the monster. Poetic justice. Anyways, remember when you're out taking a hike down that path, fishing, hiking, camping, picnicking, keep an eye on the tree line to see what's keeping an eye on you. We'll see you in the next one. Once again, another great story. Thanks for tuning in. Please share your encounter. Email us, bfrealencounters@mail.com. Your story is very important. We will treat it with the respect that it deserves. Also, be sure to smash the like button, share, and subscribe. Thanks once again. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Watch out for our next video. Maybe we'll feature yours. Have a great day.